Alabama recruiting is still going fantastically, but one particular position, it looks like it's going to be a banner year.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, welcome back into Locked On Bama, HSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama aficionado extraordinaire, Jimmy Stein. That's him.
I liked Internet Legend better.
Okay. Well,
and I don't even love that, but okay.
I know somebody got on to me yesterday. They're like, it feels like you're making fun. I'm like, let me just tell, this episode is brought to you by TurboTax. We'll talk about TurboTax in a minute. Thank you, every day for being here every day. Thank you, newbies, for being here today. Thank you, everybody, for making sure to listen. But really quickly, somebody said, well, it just feels like it's a shtick. Like you're saying Alabama Internet Legend. I'm like, but he is. And I said, let me tell you something about Jimmy Stein. What y'all don't know. See, when I first discovered Al Gore's internet in the early 90s, I remember I had knee surgery. I had like some torn cartilage, right? And I was at my parents' house just trying to recover. And we had just gotten the internet, and it was a big problem, the dial up, the whole thing. And AOL, it sucked, but it was great.
You've got mail.
It sucked by the day standards. It was great back then. And I remember I typed in like Alabama football lovers or something. I didn't type that in. I typed something else. And Tighter Insider came up, and it was like this whole universe of people I didn't know existed. I thought I was the only one. I really didn't get that cared this much because, and I remember LJS Law was on there, and I like this dude. I like what he's saying. He thinks like me. And so in my mind, I'm not doing a shtick. I think he is an internet legend. And,
thank you.
And because, Jimmy and I both decided, like, hey, it doesn't work for Bama Online anymore. It sucks.
We might go formally of Bama Online. How's that? Maybe.
I like Internet Legend. I don't know why anybody would not like.
We'll stick with Internet Legend. That was a good story.
All right, I tried to do something different today because I don't want anybody thinking like there's any contention between us on it, because it's not like I'm poking you. I'm like,
no, if there was something that I was adamant about, hey, let's use this, then
you do it.
Then we do it. So
I was told a year or so ago, hey, you guys actually have some titles. You need to use them. It builds up your credibility. And I was like, okay, I can't just say salesman for Robinson Irons. I was like, HSA Radio Networks, Luke Robinson. Okay, that works. It's not necessarily Alabama, but at the time you were with BOL. It was natural. And now you still have all the credibility in the world, but you don't have an official title. I could say Locked On Bama co-host Jimmy Stein, but that's only credible because I'm saying what you're on right now. And that's like saying, human being Luke Robinson.
Former president, Baldwin County Red Elephant Club. How about that? I was trying to think of
dude.
Former president, Baldwin County Red Elephant Club.
You should have led with that. Okay. Sorry for the story, guys, but I wanted to let y'all know because I know a lot of y'all care about that stuff. We did want to talk about defensive back recruiting. And the reason we do is because we're super excited about it. Like really excited. Like, hey, look out, Blue Chew. Anyway, Jorden Edmonds has his he said his official visit for Bama, but he also has let it be known where it stood, where he stands with Bama. He has become one of the more hot names in all of recruiting. He has been bumped up to 5-star in some services, namely BOL and On 3. He is going to visit Bama on June 20th through the 22nd, which is a huge weekend now. But when you couple him and you still, everybody still feels good that I can tell about Jorden Edmonds to Bama, right? He's at Sprayberry. Everybody knows the Sprayberry barbecue. I loved it. Anyway, Zyon Gibson, of course, already committed. There's Elbert Hill from Ohio, who is super. He's a 5-star in some services. There's Caden Harris, who is another guy that set a visit recently.
That's the Tennessee kid, right?
Yeah, the Tennessee kid. And then there's Laziah Jackson. I appreciate the creativity. Laziah Jackson, a 4-star safety. I mean, the only thing that worries me just a little, and I shouldn't be worried because it's just
you left out Brandon Arrington.
I did leave out Brandon Arrington. I shouldn't have, but he could play something else too.
He could. I think he wants to play corner, and again, it's worthy of its own show. But so many of us came from an era that Luke was discussing earlier in the show. Us old heads, we came from an era where you could sign a player and kind of put him where you want after he signed. And then even after he's been on campus a year or two, say, you know what, you're moving to defense, or you know what, you're moving to offense. And they would just go, no, I don't want to do that. And they're like, too damn bad. That's what's going to happen. You're moving. That is now extinct. That's extinct. Like the Tyrannosaurus, that is extinct. There is no more, you're moving to a position you don't want to play. That kid is.
Did you say Tyrannosaurus?
I said Tyrannosaurus. Okay. Is that wrong?
I don't know.
I know. Oh, you're probably right. T-Rex. Maybe I should say. I probably know a lot less about dinosaurs than I should. I've only seen the first Jurassic Park. So I think what's happened with kids like Arrington, because Jalen Mbakwe is the perfect example of that. Kid wants to play offense. I don't know that Alabama would have moved him in the old days. I don't know that Alabama said, things are going really good at corner, and you're going to be the third corner and play a ton of snaps, and we think you're a pro football player. We're not moving you. But the kid wants to play offense, so you either move him to offense or you watch him play for someone else. That is the example of the position move. Every now and then I'll see a comment on social media that says, we ought to take a look at this kid we ought to play Drew Sanders at tight end. Well, Drew would have left if you moved him to tight end. Ends up, he left anyway. Point being, you can't move these kids. They'll leave. But Arrington wants to play corner, similar to what Mbakwe wanted to do out of Clay Chalkville. And then Mbakwe later changed his mind, and that's fine. And Brandon Arrington, he wants to play corner. So for now, he's a corner. And boy, you went over the list, dude. It's as impressive a group as any position Alabama's recruiting and doing well. It's easy to imagine Alabama getting all those guys. Now, Alabama won't get all those guys because as soon as you get to about 3 corners, the other guys are going to go, I don't want to go and have,
especially when you consider what we have on the roster now.
Correct. They don't want the typical kid, not every kid. The typical kid doesn't want to be in a group of 4 cornerbacks. I mean, they want to play and have their turn and their spot. So I think once Alabama gets to 3, it's going to be hard to get a 4th, whoever that is. But boy, those 3 could be great. I mean, it's hard to you want Edmonds, you want Arrington, and we say, well, will Alabama turn any of those kids away? Probably not, because you don't turn away 5-star type talent. That doesn't happen often that you're in that position. But no, I don't think Alabama would turn any away. I just think once you get up to 3, it's going to be very difficult to add another. And Zyon Gibson, let's not stop talking about him just because he's committed. This is a blue chip prospect in state. And I don't think he's going anywhere. He's one that I probably should worry about losing more than I do, but I think this one's really secure.
The whole time you've been talking, all I could think was, man, I wish we had somebody on our team named Tyrone this year so I could call him Tyrannosaurus. And why I grew up with a few Tyrones. Why I never thought to call them Tyrannosaurus.
Because you've never.
No, I'm mad at myself.
I think I can name 4 dinosaurs. Can you name more than 4?
Oh God, yeah.
See, I mean,
there's Tyrannosaurus Rex,
Brontosaurus,
Raptor,
Triceratops. See, I wouldn't have come up with. I know that now that you say it. Oh, and I wouldn't have come up with that. Megalodon. That's the shark, right? Maybe I know a little bit more.
The Megalodon is so cool, and I'm so mad that the movie The Meg screwed up what could have been a fantastic movie, but they made it sort of campy, and I didn't like that. But
The Meg's not about the daughter on Family Guy.
Let me tell you guys about TurboTax. This message is from our sponsor, Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was waiting and wondering and worrying, and if you were going to get any money back, and you probably weren't. And then waiting and wondering and worrying some more because taxes just gives you a heartache. Now taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today, like not messing around. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return, while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. You don't want to be messing with your taxes. Let them mess with their taxes, your taxes, and their taxes. An expert who will find you every deduction possible and file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy. All so you can get the most money back, and that's guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now, this is how taxes should be done. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com, only available with TurboTax Live full service, real-time updates only in iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. All right, so first of all, congratulations to Mark Sears for making first team All SEC. I don't think we mentioned that. He's moved up. I need to pull it up when you start talking about these freshmen. I'm going to pull it up, see where Mark Sears is all time scoring.
Is he he's now? I'm not going to say he's the best player to ever play at Alabama. He's not. I don't believe that. Is he the most accomplished player? There's a difference. Is he the most accomplished player to ever play at Alabama? I would think so.
I mean, I think he's got to be, right, because I mean he's won an SEC title.
I mean, I'm turning in terms of how many times named All SEC, All American, candidate for the Wooden Award, candidate for the Cousy Award. Was he SEC Player of the Year last year? I think he was.
I mean, he should win the Cousy Award. I don't know that he will. Mm-hmm. They'll probably do like Braden Smith or something, which, I mean, he's good. Braden Smith's a good player. By the way, it should also be noted before we talk about football freshmen that Eagle staff kid is in the transfer portal.
Yep.
And everybody on earth thinks he's coming to Alabama.
Is it just because we've signed a kid from the Dakotas before?
And because this kid went for 40 on us.
Is he? I mean, I remember, and I think that's a fun. If we're talking about kids in the portal, I think the kid from Kennesaw State is very realistic for Alabama.
Oh, me too. He's from Tuscaloosa.
He's from Tuscaloosa. He played, and somebody made up the great point. Let's not go poach Antoine Petway's kid. That's not cool. I agree with that. But if the kid's in the portal, the kid's in the portal. If he's leaving, he might as well play for us.
Yeah, Antoine's not going to be mad at us if he goes in the portal anyway, which he 100% probably will, because why not? I mean,
you can't make NIL money at Kennesaw State like you can at Duke, for instance. And this kid can name his destination, and he's from Tuscaloosa. And my thing about Eagle staff is, and Luke, you might remember better than me, and you know, heck, I just mispronounced the name of the most famous dinosaur. What is Eagle staff a fit in what we do? I mean, not every kid fits.
I don't know. I mean, he's 6'6". He's bigger than I thought he was, than I remembered. But if you're asking me would I take him, the answer is yes, and I'd figure it out. But I also need to know what everybody else is doing. So we'll get to that a little bit later. I do want to talk about freshmen, and this is an article inspired by Bama Online, freshmen that can come in and make a difference this year. And again, right now, it's sort of weird the way Alabama did it. Spring practice for a week, spring break for a week, and then back to spring practice. But so far, it feels like these three defensive players in particular have been turning heads. That's Dijon Lee, Ivan Taylor, and Justin Hill. They just happen to also be the three guys that everybody was talking about weeks before spring practice even started. So it's not a shock to me at all.
No, it's not a shock. And we did discuss just yesterday people that were standing out, and I don't think we got to all of them. I think on defense, all we really talked about was Cam Calhoun. I would have mentioned Justin Hill for sure. You know, what made me think in reading that article, and it's great over at Bama Online, y'all ought to check it out. Y'all ought to check it out. I think Tim wrote it. It's good. But what it got me to thinking was every year, sometimes it's easy to project freshmen that play. Sometimes it's easy because there's a great freshman that's come in at a position of obvious need. Those guys it's almost easy to predict, okay, we're probably going to see this guy. But sometimes it's more fun, Luke, when a freshman is so good, you make a spot for them because they're too good not to play, even though there's already returning guys at the spot and you don't necessarily need them. But I say all that to say there's a couple of guys out there that I think might end up fitting that profile. The one I really want to talk about is Jackson Lloyd on offense. And we talked about him yesterday as a guy that I'd heard was standing out on the field, not just among the freshmen, but just as a standout to the staff, Jackson Lloyd. And the thing is, tackle is a need. Tackle's a big time need, but just insofar as depth. I mean, I know a lot of fans out there scratch their head over this, but they like Wilkin Formby. They think Formby's going to be good. I mean, they ascribe issues last year that really only cropped up in one game, really. When Formby came back to play snaps late in the year, he was pretty good. And I can tell you this, from some inside scoop here, there was a ton of interest in Wilkin Formby getting in the portal. Some big-time programs out there wanted Formby in the portal, saying, hey, they didn't even play you last year. You would be our starting tackle, and we got all the money to pay. That happened with Formby. Alabama likes him at right tackle. What they want is depth. And who would have thunk? I thought the depth would probably come from guards that they kicked outside, like Casey Poe. No, I think maybe the swing tackle may prove to be Jackson Lloyd. I'm pretty shocked about it because I really anticipated him redshirting based on his build, based on the fact he spent so much time of his high school career playing basketball and baseball. I thought this is a kid that's going to need some time and it's going to have a big payoff in the end. Now I'm thinking this might be a little bit more of a Jonah Williams type comp. And, if y'all remember, Jonah came in and played right away. And even though he was a guy that kind of needed to add some size, but he played right away anyway. Jackson Lloyd, watch for him this fall. I don't believe he's going to beat out Wilkin Formby. I don't believe that at all. But what I do believe might happen, Luke, he could end up being what's referred to as the swing tackle. The third tackle, the guy that comes in. If Proctor gets banged up, Jackson Lloyd comes in. If Wilkin gets banged up, he comes in. Garbage time, he's in, period. When they play the second offensive line, he's in. But he might be the swing tackle. That guy gets more snaps than people might believe, and he'd be first up in case Proctor or Formby had to miss time. Gosh knows that could easily happen to either one of them. They're missing time right now. You're muted. Your little mute button's on. I don't know that people can see that.
Oh, God, they can't.
I can see that.
They can't, and I can, but y'all don't understand. It's in the lower corner, and it's not like again, yeah, look, that's why I think this spring practice is so unique in the sense that there's some key injuries, some guys are going to get some key moments in practice, and that's why I'm not so worried about the spring practice anymore. We did Sports Blitz Live last night, and my co-host asked, is spring practice going away? And I was like, yeah, I think it is. I don't know if it's going away, not spring practice, spring
games.
Sorry. So I said spring practice, spring games. Is spring games going away? I think they will, in the way that we know them, because I think coaches are looking at it now like, hey, that's my 15th practice. I can't be just going out there willy-nilly worried about who's going to eat pork and beans, who's going to eat steak. We got to take advantage of every single practice we have.
You know what they're going to do? And I hate it. I hate it. But you know what they're going to do? And you're going to hate this too. But this is where it's going. I just feel it in my bones. This is what's happening. They're going to go to the NFL model of OTAs.
Yeah, oh sure.
And spring games will be out. There will actually be more practices. Just like OTAs happen 2-3 times a year. They're going to do that. They're going to be like, all right, you can practice 10 days in March. You can practice 10 days in April. You can practice 10 days in June. And we're cool with that. But no one's playing a game and subjecting the kids to injury via a football game. And they might even say April, since we've always done spring practice, in April you can wear pads. In the 10 days in March and in the 10 days in June, that's going to be shells or no pads. But they will do something like that will mimic what the NFL does with OTAs, because why not? Because they've completely copied everything else the NFL does, including paying the players.
And I think that, again, another thing that we talked about was the NCAA tournament, which we'll talk about in the third segment. But I said, look, eventually you can see this coming. I mean, eventually we're going to be getting rid of all these other smaller schools, and then the NCAA tournament's going to be, made up of the big boys for the most part. And I'm going to have to go on a rant on this in a second. Right now, I better tell y'all about Factor. I just better do it. Man, I've seen all the Factor pictures and commercials. They're on YouTube and Facebook. That stuff looks awesome. I'm going to have to do that because I got to lose weight and I want to get, I want to feel better. And I'm looking to optimize my nutrition this year. And Factor makes eating well easy with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals that are fresh, never frozen, and ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences every week, you can customize your meals to fit your lifestyle, whether it's Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. Plus, Factor even offers wholesome smoothies, breakfast, and grab-and-go snacks to keep you fueled all day long. I love how Factor takes the stress out of meal planning. I want to try their Protein Plus meals. I really do. And they're packed with flavor, and they will keep me full throughout the day, and that's what I need. The convenience is unbeatable. No prep, no mess, and just great food in minutes. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege. 50 off. That's LockedOnCollege 50, the number 50 off. LockedOnCollege, number 50 off. And use code LockedOnCollege 50 off. I just said it. To get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code LockedOnCollege 50 off at factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege 50 off. If you forget that code by now, it's on you. To get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box from Factor.
I might do that Factor meal thing.
Oh man, they got one with like a steak on it and it looks fabulous. I mean, no, it's not. It's probably not. Oh my God, what I do? Okay, there we go. I hit a button. By the way, Mark Sears, according to sportsreference.com, is number 7 all time in scoring in Alabama history. He is 7 points away from Jerry Harper. He is 15 points away from Buck Johnson, and he is 19 points away from Trevor Relaford. Wow. He has a chance. I
never would have guessed T. Relly had scored more points than Mark Sears.
Relly was there another year, though.
Was he there a full 5 years?
But no. I use there.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I think this only counts his time at Bama.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I think that and it makes sense. I mean, you should track who scored the most points in an Alabama uniform. But yeah, okay, that makes sense.
He ain't catching Reggie King, who's at 2168, but he could catch. And I mean, it's not crazy if we go on a run. He could catch Eddie Phillips and get up to 2. Because Eddie Phillips is at 1937 and Sears is at 1854. So
that's remarkable in that Sears will have only played 3 years at Alabama, right?
Well, and you asked, is he the most accomplished?
Yeah.
Final 4. Yeah. He was SEC champ, SEC tournament champ. He is going to be in the top 5 in scoring, clearly, unless he gets injured. Knock on wood.
And just the all SEC and all America type things.
First team all SEC again. I think he'll be no less than second team all American. Could be first team all American. Those 2 goose eggs this year may hinder that. But the SEC starts today, and that's great. And it got me thinking last night. I'll say it again. That what would be better for the SEC tournament? Because John Calipari sort of said the quiet part out loud. He said this tournament doesn't mean anything to me. The SEC tournament. He's like, I don't really care about it. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And he's 100% correct. It's stupid. Now that we think about it, it's stupid. I love going, and if I get a chance to go to Nashville, I'll go. But I'm going to say this. It's dumb, and I'll tell you why it's dumb. I don't even know the team, but last night, some team with a losing record got hot, ran through their tournament, and now they'll get into the NCAA tournament. And you say, well, what's the problem, Luke, that some Cinderella team makes the list? First of all, I hate that analogy because Cinderella was hot and her stepsisters were ugly. So let's go ahead and get the Cinderella thing out of there.
The most unrealistic fairy tale ever.
It is. I've got this super hot sister that all she does is cook and clean. And we got these girls with goiters on their face all over the place. And they get to go to the ball with their giant size 14 feet. No, they don't. And also, who wears a glass slipper?
Superhotmade.com is probably a thing. I don't even know that that's a thing. I'm guessing Superhotmade, there is a .com for that you probably shouldn't visit if you're at work.
If there isn't, I found us a side hustle.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it is NSFW for sure. But there are hot made. There's even hot made outfits for Halloween.
So this team, and I'm going to try and find them here in a second. This team that has a losing record gets to go to the NCAA tournament. And again, you say, well, what's the big deal? I mean, you hate the little guy? No, I hate teams with a losing record that prove to me all year long they stink. And then they get to go play they get to take a spot from somebody else who proved they're better all year long. But because this team won the lottery, they get to be considered the same kind of millionaire as somebody who studied their whole life. I think that sucks. I think it's terrible. And so that's why I think it needs to change. And so here's my idea. Look, I know the SEC tournament's not going to stop. It makes money, right? Yep. If more people start thinking like John Calipari, and he's right, I think it may change. But I'll say this. Instead of having the SEC tournament have everybody, there is no need for Auburn, Alabama, Tennessee, Florida, Texas A&M, Kentucky, somebody else, whoever, to go play in this thing. What I would say is this. The NCAA tournament committee now puts out their top 16 seeds, right, weekly, towards the end of the year. They can say, okay, here's our top 16 seeds the last day of the regular season. These 16 teams, y'all don't even have to play in a tournament. Y'all get to rest. Okay, if you want, I just say you get to rest. Now we're going to do several mini tournaments, and we're going to set those tournaments up, and it's going to be like the NCAA tournament. You don't know who's going where yet, but the winner of those tournaments,
like play-in tournaments,
several play-in tournaments. Now, the other thing I would say is, if you have a losing record, you ain't in it. You just ain't in it. And now I don't know how the numbers will work. But if you have a losing record, or a 500 record, I don't want you playing in my NCAA tournament field. And I don't care how nostalgic everybody gets, and I don't care how everybody wants to see somebody get a chance. You had a chance. It was called the regular season. And you should have done something then. And the other thing is, we play something like, how many games does Alabama play?
31.
31. You got 31 games to prove to me that you deserve to be there. And then you're going to go something like 14 and 17 and tell me that you deserve to get there because you got hot in the tournament. Even
if Alabama wins the SEC tournament, Luke, I bet we both agree. Even if Alabama wins the SEC tournament, we both agree that what Auburn did in winning the regular season was more impressive. That's far more impressive.
100%.
That's more worthy of the standing ovation is winning the regular season than winning the tournament. I agree. And I agree with Calipari that it really feels more like an exhibition than something that really counts. Yet it does count if there is I'm not going to say the C word and compare it to a fairy tale. If someone that's not supposed to wins the tournament and then they win a bid, then it feels not like an exhibition at all. That was very real because that team gets to keep on playing. That could happen to NC State last year. They ended up making the Final Four.
But if it meant, here's the thing. The truth eventually comes to the surface. NC State did get hot and they did make a run. And frankly, they shouldn't have been in the tournament. And so I would argue that while everybody thinks, it's so magical that they made it to the Final Four, I would argue that somebody else should have had that opportunity because they proved it. And NC State just got hot at the right time. But you know what NC State just did about a week ago? They fired their coach because they realized, he's not good. He just got hot one time. That's all. Now, I found who it is. In the NEC, Northeast Conference. I don't even know what conference that is.
The NEC?
NEC, I've never heard of it. I guess I have heard of it. I don't worry about it. St. Francis, PA, who coming into this tournament must have been like 13 and 17. They beat Central Connecticut, who coming into this tournament was probably 23 and 6. So 23 and 6.
That's pretty good.
And so St. Francis beats them by 3, 46-43 in a terrible game.
Wow.
And so St. Francis at 16 and 17 will go to the NCAA tournament.
Because they won a game 46-43?
Central Connecticut, who went 25 and 7. And was clearly the best team in that conference all year long, won't go. It's unfair. It's crazy. It's dumb, and it needs to stop.
I'm just surprised at a 46-43 game, the referees at halftime didn't say, hey, you know what? We're just not going to play the rest of this game. This is terrible.
Y'all flip a coin.
Y'all are just awful. We're not going to play the rest of this game, and we're going to send Central Connecticut to that tournament thing.
Y'all just flip a coin for this. We don't really want to do this anymore. And the other thing is, this same Central Connecticut team, by the way, beat St. Francis twice in the regular season, both times by double digits at their place and away. And so they had one bad game, this whole thing. And it's wrong. And I would say that if it were Alabama getting in, look, if Alabama got in with a losing record because they won the tournament, would I be happy? Of course I would, because it's available to them. But also, I would say this is not right. This is not the way to do this. And what it does is it cheapens the tournament in the sense that we want the best. They keep telling me we get the 68 best teams. No, you don't. You don't. I mean, St. Francis is clearly not one of the 60. And I don't hate St. Francis. I didn't know they existed. I don't care.
Should Connecticut have a Central Connecticut? Is the state big enough to have a Central Connecticut? That implies that there's a North Connecticut state and a South Connecticut state. Is there? I don't think so.
Has something ever been too small to have a middle?
I mean, does Rhode Island have like Northwest Rhode Island University, Southeast Rhode Island University? It takes up 300 yards. The whole area is 300 yards long.
Let me tell you,
Southeast Rhode Island.
This is why I love the state of Alabama, though. And this is why I hope that anybody leaving some states that are kind of losing their mind, that they don't just migrate here and screw our state up. Alabama's got everything you want. I'm going to be, Governor Kay Ivey may have me do a commercial after this. You go in northern Alabama, you got mountains, you got cooler weather, you got all the space stuff. Huntsville's one of the smartest cities in the country. You come to Birmingham, you got tons of history. You got now it's the second biggest city in the state, I think. But it's got a great, vibrant food scene right now. Birmingham's a foodie destination. I'm telling you, I live there. It's a great place. Then you can go obviously to Tuscaloosa or to Auburn, and you can get all the college life you want.
Ultimate college towns.
And then you can go to South Alabama, and in South Alabama, you got the beaches. And you got a mix of cultures with some Cajun mixed in and some, sort of Florida and Alabama is sort of where everything washes together in there. And the food there, the Gulf seafood is amazing. Alabama's got everything you want, y'all. I'm telling you, it does. It's just the best state. I love being here, and I don't ever want to leave. That's just me. But all right,
that was a good live read.
I will take a check at any time. Governor Kay Ivey, please. So anyway, that's going to do it for today's podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.